This is ATN Global News. First, the headlines. NDLEA raises alarm over rising drug abuse among Uniport students. Court stops 2025 PDP's National Convention. Nigerian Air Force reshuffles senior officers to boost efficiency. 9 Post unveils payment solution for foreign parcels. West African leaders call for unity reform at ECOWAS 50. Barcelona eye Osimhen, Haaland as top striker targets. Burna Boy names Fela Kuti as superior artist. National Drug Law Enforcement Agency says more than 100 students of the University of Port Harcourt have been involved in drug abuse. Assistant State Commander of the NDLEA in River State, Grace Adeniyi, disclosed this during the War Against Drug Abuse campaign organized by the Police Community Relations Committee of the River State Police Command in collaboration with the agency. The event held at the university campus focused on drug abuse as a growing health, social and economic concern that demands early intervention, awareness and community action. The Vice Chancellor of the University, Professor Owunari George, emphasized the institution's commitment to supporting students through its counseling and development center and medical services to help tackle drug-related challenges. The campaign, now in its third year under the Rivers PCROC, aims to strengthen preventive education, rehabilitation and collaboration among students, security agencies and community leaders toward building a drug-free society. Rivers State High Court sitting in Port Harcourt has reserved ruling in a case filed by chairmanship candidates of the All Progressives Congress under the Emeka Beke-led faction over the August 30 local government elections. The case is stated by Fubara, Dagogo and 8 others against the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission challenges the alleged substitution by the party. Presiding Judge Justice Stephen Jumbo reserved ruling until Wednesday, November 5, after hearing arguments from both parties on whether the case was statute barred. The claimants are seeking a perpetual injunction to stop RCEC from recognizing candidates from the rival faction led by Tony Okocha, insisting they are the authentic winners of the party's primaries. The Rivers APC has been locked in a leadership crisis between the Beke and Okocha factions. Operatives of the Delta State Police Command have arrested 7 suspected kidnappers and rescued 3 victims in Ubeji community near the Ubeji gas plant in Warri South local government area of the state. The command spokesperson, SP Bright Edafe, disclosed this in a statement issued on Friday in Asaba. The Delta State capital, according to Edafe, the incident occurred on October 30, 2025, when the Divisional Police Officer of Ekpan Division, CSP Labelio Joseph, received a distress report about a suspected kidnapping in the area. The suspects, all indigenous of Ubeji community, were identified as Felix Omone, 33, Solomon Omone, 29, Tony Eboye, 34, Omone David, 32, Jerry Omone, 33, Gospel Omone, 25, and Edewu Bomele, 33. Edafe added that the 3 rescued victims had since been reunited with their families. Preliminary investigation, he said, revealed that the victims were abducted at a dredging site in Ubeji, ferried across a river and later contacted by the suspects who threatened to kill them if their ransom demands were not met. He further noted that efforts were ongoing to apprehend fleeing accomplices and recover any weapons used in the operation. Edafe reiterated the command's unwavering commitments to combating kidnapping, armed robbery, and the proliferation of illegal arms in Delta State. 5 persons have died while 2 others sustained injuries in a road crash that occurred at the suburb of Akure, Ondo State capital, on Thursday. The crash occurred around 9 o'clock in the morning at the junction just before the Iluabo community in Akure North local government area. It involved a Nissan Sonica and a DAF tipper truck. The victims were said to be traders on their way to sell their goods at the market in Ogbese, a neighboring community. The sector commander of the Federal Road Safety Corps in the state, Samuel Ibitoya, who confirmed the incident, attributed the cause to overspeeding. The FRSC boss added that the remains of the dead victims had been deposited in the mortuary at the Federal Medical Center, Owo, by personnel from the FRSC Owo Unit Command. He lamented the rising cases of avoidable accidents on major routes across the state, saying the command had intensified engagement with tipper drivers and other motorists along the Akure-Ogbese axis to promote safer driving practices. The FRSC chief expressed sadness on the tragic incident, appealing to drivers to ensure proper vehicle maintenance to prevent crashes caused by mechanical faults. Benue State government on Thursday contained what would have become a public health epidemic in Ogbadibo and Opoku local government areas after youth who allegedly seized the corpse of a Lassa fever victim, preventing health officials from conducting a safe burial in Ogbadibo local government area. Officials of the Benue State Ministry of Health Rapid Response Team, however, intervened, leading to the dousing of tension. A source said a 54-year-old woman from Ogbadibo died at the Benue State University Teaching Hospital, Makurdi, where laboratory tests confirmed the viral infection. However, tension rose when officials from the Benue State Ministry of Health Rapid Response Team attempted to enforce safe standard burial protocol in Ogbadibo, barring people from the traditional lane in state and paying of last respect. That move prompted some youths to forcibly take the corpse to a private mortuary in Okogolo, which is in the neighboring Opoku local government area. The incident forced immediate response from the Benue State government, with the Commissioner for Health and Human Services, Paul Oguche, leading the state team of epidemiologists, local authorities, and security operatives to the affected communities. The commissioner disclosed that health education campaigns had been launched across Ogbadigbo and Opoku local government areas to curb misinformation, promote hygiene, and discourage unsafe handling of corpses. Oguche urged the public to immediately report symptoms such as persistent fever and unexplained blood bleeding to the nearest health facility, warning against cultural practices that could accelerate the spread of infectious diseases. Outgoing Commandant of the Air Force Institute of Technology, Kaduna Air Force Air Vice Marshal Sani Rabe, has warned newly admitted students to stay away from cultism, drug abuse, examination malpractice, and cybercrime, insisting that the military-owned institution will not compromise its strict disciplinary standards. Speaking at the 2025 and 2026 matriculation ceremony of the institute held on Friday in Kaduna, Rabe told the 1,524 newly matriculated students that AFIT would continue to uphold its zero-tolerance policy against all forms of indiscipline. Rabe, who is due to hand over to a new commandant on Monday following the recent appointment of new service chiefs by President Bola Tinubu, said the institute's disciplinary policy applies without consideration for parentage, rank, or status. The commandant, represented by his deputy AVM Albert BOT, at the event added that AFIT collaborates with the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to monitor and prevent cyber-related offences among students. The commandant reminded the fresh students that by taking oath of allegiance, they had become bona fide members of the AFIT community and were bound by its values of discipline, integrity, and academic excellence. Our Association of Resident Doctors of the Federal Capital Territory Administration on Friday announced it will commence an indefinite strike starting 12 midnight on Saturday, November 1, 2025, over unresolved welfare and administrative issues affecting its members. The declaration, contained in a letter dated October 30, 2025 and addressed to the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Yesom Wike, was signed by the association's president, Dr. George Ebong, and General Secretary, Dr. Agbo F. Afyong. The letter was made available to our correspondent by the president of the AD FCTA, Dr. George Ebong, on Friday. The AD FCTA's letter followed the announcement by in its national body, the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors, to commence an indefinite and total strike on the same date. FCTA doctors vow to continue their own indefinite strike action even if the national body suspends or calls off its ongoing strike. The FCTA noted that the action became necessary due to long-standing issues affecting its members, which it said have not been resolved despite previous engagements with the authorities. The impending strike is expected to further strain healthcare delivery in the FCT, especially as resident doctors constitute the majority of the medical workforce in public hospitals. FCT Police Command Scorpion Squad have announced the arrest of 14 suspected kidnappers and the rescue of 23 victims, all foreign nationals from captivity. A statement by the FCT Police Public Relations Officer, Josephine Ade, showed that the intelligence-led operation took place at about 8 p.m. on Tuesday, 22nd October 2025 at Anwan Adamuruga Fulani Zone B, Riverside, Ado, Mararaba, Nasarawa State. The operation followed the reports indicating that several foreign nationals had been lured into Nigeria under the pretext of lucrative job offers, and upon arrival they were held hostage by their abductors, who demanded ransom payments from their families via WhatsApp and other online platforms. ST Police authorities said preliminary investigation revealed that the syndicate is coordinated by one Abubakar Jigiba, a transnational criminal kingpin with known residences in Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, Mali, and Nigeria, while his younger brother Sugule Zubere handles the recruitment, kidnapping, and smuggling of victims from Mali into Nigeria, where they are detained pending ransom payment. Federal Capital Territory Administration has inspected the ongoing police station construction project, pledging its commitment to timely completion. Adamo Gwari, Director of FCT, Department of Security Services, after conducting journalists around the project on Thursday, said 11 out of the 12 police stations across the 6 area councils are nearing completion. According to him, 11 out of the 12 police stations have reached over.
Let me give you a little background. You recall sometimes 2023 when the minister assumed duty, he went around all the 6 area councils and had a meeting with the FCT community in a town hall meeting at all the 6 area councils. And as at that time, the security challenges in the FCT, particularly kidnapping at rural areas, is prevalent. And based on that interface, the FCT residents and the rural community informed the minister of their challenges. At that meeting, he promised them that he will bring security closer to the people. And that is the essence of this structure you are seeing. And the one that we have got around, we are having 12 of such, this in 2 per area council. So that is the background of this project that we have inspected. At the moment, as you can see, structurally, all the 11, except one that is yet to take off, have reached more than 90% completion structurally. And in terms of fitting, right now, most of them have commenced fitting. Some, or I can say many of them, have virtually completed all fittings. So we can clearly say that the completion stage is 90 plus.
According to him, 11 out of the 12 police stations have reached over 90% structural completion, with one yet to commence. Fitting works are also progressing, with many stations having virtually completed this phase. Overall, the projects are over 90% complete.
The minister requested the Inspector General of Police to provide, this is a national standard approved prototype police divisional offices. If you happen to go to the Police Resource Center, you'll see one there as a designator, but now they are adopting this nationwide as police divisional headquarters with quarters. So whenever they are building this type of facilities, it will come along with the quarters. Certainly, at least there shouldn't be any time where the police divisional offices will be crying of personnel, while most of them live far away from their station, and this is the concept adopted where at any given time there must be personnel to respond to situation at any given time.
The director disclosed that each police station may have officers' quarters consisting of 6 2-bedroom flats to accommodate personnel, stressed that the new police stations in rural areas will undoubtedly boost residents' morale and confidence, aligning with the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike's vision of strengthening the security system.
Definitely, it is a moral booster for FCT residents. Having seen this kind of facilities situated at the rural area, it brings, as I said earlier, in line with the minister's dreams and aspiration, bringing security closer to the people. And with this, there is no doubt the morale and confidence of the FCT resident will be boosted. Certainly, and this is based on the fact that the challenges have been addressed. And as you can see, all of them are working assiduously. Based on that and in line with that request of the minister to ensure that such project is completed on time, we had a meeting with them, and many of them assured us first week of December that they will deliver.
Operatives of the Kebbi State Police Command have arrested a suspected armed robber and recovered a stolen motorcycle in the Gwando local government area of the state. The arrest followed a swift operation launched after a 32-year-old man identified as Umar Mode of Talijan village was attacked and robbed along the Gwando-Benin Kebbi Road on October 22, 2025. The command spokesperson, CSP Nafiu Abubakar, said in a statement that the victim was ambushed by a gang of hoodlums armed with dangerous weapons who inflicted deep cuts on his head and fled with his unregistered red Boxer motorcycle and a Techno mobile phone. He added that police recovered an unregistered TVS motorcycle from the suspect, who confessed to the crime and named 3 accomplices identified simply as Hassan, Umaru and Salihu, who are currently at large. The suspects were said to have been meeting regularly at the Dodoru market to plan the attacks. Abubakar said the case had been transferred to the State Criminal Investigation Department in Benin Kebbi for further investigation, while efforts were ongoing to apprehend the fleeing gang members. Commending the Gwando police team for their quick response, the State Commissioner of Police CP Bello Sani urged them to sustain the momentum and intensify patrols along the Gwando-Benin-Kebbi axis. He also advised commercial motorcyclists to be vigilant and avoid carrying suspicious passengers, particularly at night, to prevent further incidents of motorcycle snatching across the state. Federal government has commenced the disbursement of funds under the Tertiary Institution Staff Support Fund designed to strengthen staff welfare, institutional productivity and innovation across Nigeria's tertiary education system. This is contained in a statement made in Abuja by the Director of Press and Public Relations, Federal Ministry of Education, Mrs. Folashade Boriowo, while quoting the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, on the milestone, said the welfare was an initiative of President Bola Tinubu's Renewed Hope agenda. Alausa said the program had transitioned from planning to full implementation, with more than 9,000 staff of tertiary institutions receiving payments in the first year. This, he said, represented 28% of the 33,000 verified applicants drawn from 219 federal and state tertiary institutions across the Federation. Alausa said the first phase of disbursements covered both academic and non-academic personnel in a 30-to-70 ratio, reflecting the government's inclusive approach to supporting all categories of staff in the nation's higher education institutions. Alausa emphasized that the initiative goes beyond financial assistance, describing it as an investment in the nation's knowledge economy. Immediate past Chief of Defense Staff, retired General Christopher Musa, on Friday said he is retiring from active service with pride and a clear conscience. In his valedictory remarks during his pulling out parade on Friday in Abuja, Musa said he has given his all to the service of the nation. The XCDS also lauded the Nigerian people, particularly the youth, for their faith and prayers for a safer Nigeria, and thanked the media for their partnership in national development. Musa concluded by praising God for divine protection throughout his career. The former CDS pledged to continue serving Nigeria in other capacities. The Nigerian Air Force has approved the redeployment of several senior officers to key command and staff positions as part of Air Force to enhance operational efficiency and align its structure with the leadership vision of the new Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sunday Aneke. No fewer than 19 officers received new appointments, while 6 others were posted to various defense and inter-service establishments. A statement on Friday by the Director of Public Relations and Information, Air Commodore Ehimen Ejodame, said the restructuring was aimed at improving decision-making, strengthening coordination across units and commands, and reinforcing readiness in response to current security challenges. Under the new postings, Air Vice Marshal Abubakar Abdullahi becomes Chief of Policy and Plans, while AVM Adeniran Ademuwagun assumes duty as Commandant of the Air Force Institute of Technology, Kaduna. AVM Ibitayo Ajiboye was appointed Group Managing Director of the Nigerian Army, Nigeria Air Force Investment Limited Group of Companies. The statement added that other senior officers, including AVMs Ahmed Bakari, Albert Bolt, Idi Sani, Mohammed Suleiman, Jibrin Usman, and Jafet Ekuribe, have been deployed to various defense and inter-service establishments to strengthen joint operations. The Chief of the Air Staff assumed office on Thursday, and redeployment exercise followed the following day. His decision to reshuffle senior officers comes just a day after his counterpart in the Nigerian Army also announced a major reorganization of top commanders. The detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, has filed a fresh motion before the Federal High Court in Abuja seeking the dismissal of all charges against him and his immediate release. In the motion dated October 30, 2025, entitled Motion on Notice and Written Address in Support, Kanu argued that there is no valid charge against him under any existing law in Nigeria. He said the charges currently before the court are a nullity ab initio for want of any extant legal foundation. The IPOB leader, who is representing himself, filed a motion under sections 1, paragraph 3, 6, paragraph 6b, and 36, paragraph 12 of the 1999 Constitution, the Evidence Act 2011, and the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act 2022. He maintained that the prosecution relied on repealed and non-existent laws, including the Customs and Excise Management Act, which was repealed by the Nigeria Customs Service Act 2023, and the Terrorism Prevention Amendment Act 2013, repealed by the TPPA 2022. Kanu said the reliance on such repealed laws violates sections 36, paragraph 12 of the Constitution, which prohibits trial for an offense not defined under an existing law. He therefore urged the courts to strike out the charges in their entirety, insisting they do not constitute any offense known to law. Kanu urged the courts to direct the prosecution to respond to his motion strictly on points of law within 3 days, and to deliver a ruling on or before November 4, 2025. He stated that his application raises only constitutional and legal questions derived from existing laws and therefore does not require an affidavit. Federal High Court sitting in Abuja on Friday stopped the People's Democratic Party from proceeding with its planned national convention scheduled to hold in Ibadan, Oyo State on November 15 and 16, pending further notice. Delivering judgments in a suit filed by 3 aggrieved members of the party, the judge also restrained the Independent National Electoral Commission from accepting reports on the outcome of any national convention of the party without following the due process of the law as well as its guidelines and regulations. The judge held that INEC is not entitled to give effect to the convention a party not done in accordance with the Constitution, Electoral Act and the guidelines and regulations of political parties. The suit was instituted by 3 aggrieved members of the party: Austin Nwachukwu, Imo PDP chairman; Ama Abraham Nan, Abia PDP chairman; and Tona Alab George, PDP secretary, South. The plaintiffs asked the court to stop the PDP's scheduled national convention in Ibadan, where new national officers were expected to be elected, stating that the planned convention violated provisions of the Electoral Act and the PDP's internal rules. The 9 defendants in the case are the Independent National Electoral Commission, the PDP Samuel Anyanwu, National Secretary of the PDP, Umar Bature, National Organizing Secretary, the National Working Committee, the National Executive Committee, Ambassador Umar Iliya Damagum, Ali Odefa, and Emmanuel Ogiri. Justice Omotosho, in the judgment delivered, held that the evidence before the court established that the party failed to comply with the provisions of the 1999 Constitution as amended, the INEC guidelines, and the PDP's own constitution. Human rights lawyer Mr. Femi Falana's son has criticized the recent presidential pardon saga, describing the exercise as embarrassing and poorly handled. The controversy over the presidential pardon began in October when President Bola Ahmed Tinubu approved clemency for 175 inmates under the constitutional prerogative of mercy. The list, reportedly compiled by the Presidential Advisory Committee on Prerogative of Mercy, included some individuals convicted of serious crimes such as kidnapping, drug-related offenses, human trafficking, and unlawful possession of firearms. The move sparked nationwide outrage, with legal practitioners, civil society groups, and anti-corruption advocates accusing the administration of undermining the rule of law and its own anti-corruption drive. In response to the criticism, the federal government announced a review of the list, saying the process that produced the initial compilation was flawed. Following the review, Tinubu revoked the pardon of about 140 beneficiaries. The presidency later explained that the revised list reflected the commitment to due process and accountability, saying the move demonstrated the government's willingness to correct errors. Speaking in an interview on Friday, Falana said the country was exposed to ridicule due to the inclusion of undeserving individuals on the list, some of whom had been recently convicted of serious offenses. According to him, the pardon process was flawed from the outset as it violated constitutional provisions guiding the exercise of such powers. We're going to a quick break, and when we return, we'll dive into the business news and other stories. Do stay tuned.
Definitely, it is a moral booster for FCT residents. Having
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. And now to the business news. President Bola Tinubu has approved the adoption of a national carbon market framework, the operationalization of the Climate Change Fund, and the restoration of the National Council on Climate Change on the budget line. This is coming ahead of the 2025 United Nations Climate Change Conference, scheduled to be held in Brazil starting from Monday, November 10 to Friday, November 21, 2025. The Special Assistant to the President on Media and Communications, Office of the Vice President Stanley Nkwocha, announced this in a statement issued on Friday. The approvals, according to Nkwocha, followed a presentation by the Director General of NCCC, Mrs. Omotenyoye Maje-Kodumi, at the second meeting of the Council held on Thursday evening at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. Tinubu, who was represented by Vice President Kashim Shettima, said the approvals were part of the measures by his administration to properly position Nigeria to leverage opportunities in the global carbon market and be more active in the climate change ecosystem. Tinubu also said the agenda for Nigeria ahead of the forthcoming 30th and United Nations Climate Change Conference scheduled for Belém, Brazil, saying the focus is to harness all of the opportunities for financing climate-resilient projects and related interventions, particularly from the global carbon market. House of Representatives has commenced investigation into the deduction of taxes and sundry charges from the earnings of civil and public servants, as well as multiple bank charges imposed on customers' accounts across the country. Speaking at the inauguration of the ad hoc committee charged with the investigation, Chairman of the committee, Honorable Kelechi Nwogu, said the committee was established in response to mounting concerns from civil servants and ordinary Nigerians over the growing complexities and inconsistencies in tax deductions and banking fees. Nwogu described the inauguration as a pivotal step in the National Assembly's commitment to transparency, fairness and accountability, noting that the House could no longer ignore the frustrations of citizens who suffer unexplained deductions from their salaries and bank accounts. According to him, the committee was set up to respond to citizens' concerns and ensure that financial practices across both government and banking institutions align with principles of justice and equity, adding that the issues have contributed to confusion and a lack of trust among our populace. Honorable Nwogu called for full cooperation and participation from all stakeholders, including government agencies, banks, regulatory bodies, and civil society organizations. He expressed optimism that the investigation would lead to meaningful policy and institutional changes that would improve financial fairness and accountability in the country. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, reiterated the commitment of the 10th National Assembly to promoting fairness, transparency, and accountability in Nigeria's financial system, particularly as it concerns tax deductions and multiple bank charges burdening citizens. The Speaker, who was represented by the Chief Whip of the House, Honorable Usman Kumo, said the establishment of the committee reflected the legislators' responsiveness to the cries of Nigerians who have continued to experience arbitrary deductions from their salaries and accounts, both by government agencies and financial institutions. He stressed that the House owed it to Nigerians to ensure financial justice, especially for civil and public servants whose incomes are already overstretched. The Speaker also decried the growing problem of multiple and unclear bank charges, noting that such practices undermine public confidence and worsen the economic hardship faced by citizens. Abbas urged the committee to conduct its assignment with integrity, objectivity, and commitment to the people, engaging all relevant stakeholders to ensure a comprehensive investigation that will lead to practical reforms. Abbas emphasized that the assignment was part of a broader legislative effort to ensure that Nigerians are not unfairly treated by the institutions meant to serve them, warning that the House would not tolerate exploitative practices in either for the public or private sectors. Mandates of the committee include investigating the nature and application of taxes, levies and salaries deductions affecting civil and public servants, as well as probing possible cases of non-remittance of deducted funds. The committee will also examine the range of bank charges, including value-added tax applied to existing fees, with the aim of ensuring transparency and fairness. Federal government on Thursday unveiled the Nigerian Postal Service automated payment solution for inbound international delivery items, and an innovation expected to eliminate long queues, improve transparency, and simplify customs payments for millions of users and businesses engaged in cross-border trade across Nigeria. The launch, held in Abuja, marks a major milestone in NIPOST's ongoing transformation drive under the supervision of the Minister of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, Bosun Tijani, who described the initiative as a living example of how a modern public service should operate in partnership with innovators, technology and citizens. Represented by the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, Rafiu Adeladan, Tijani said the collaboration between NIPOST and its private sector partners, Paystack, Sendbox and Messenger reflects what is possible when government agencies embrace digital innovation and citizen-focused service delivery. For decades, Nigerians have expressed frustration over delays, hidden charges and long queues at post offices when clearing imported parcels. Expressing their frustration on various social media platforms, Nigerians have flooded timelines with complaints about inefficiencies in postal delivery and cumbersome customs payment processes. Tijani acknowledged these pain points, noting that such inefficiencies go beyond customer service. They are barriers to trade, to e-commerce, and to small businesses struggling to compete globally. Manufacturers Association of Nigeria has reported that the gross value of unsold inventory in the manufacturing sector rose to 1.4 trillion naira in the first half of 2025, representing a 16.5% increase from 896.2 billion naira recorded in the second half of 2024. The association described the development as alarming, attributing it to low government patronage of locally made products and persistent macroeconomic pressures that continue to constrain industrial productivity. Director General of MAN, Segun Ajayi Kade, alongside the Director of MAN Research and Economic Policy Division, Dr. Oluwasegun Osidibe, presented the findings of the third quarter 2025 Manufacturer CEO's Confidence Index and 2025 MAN Think Tank report in Lagos. Ajayi Kade warned that the surge in unsold goods reflected weak consumer demand and poor implementation of the government's local content policies. He explained that other major challenges identified by manufacturers in the quarter included inadequate power supply, high exchange rates and forex scarcity, high electricity tariffs and alternative energy costs, multiple taxation and poor road infrastructure. According to the MCCI report, the manufacturing sector continues to face structural bottlenecks despite showing modest signs of resilience in the first half of the year. Capacity utilization rose to 61.3% from 7.6% recorded in the second half of 2024, while manufactured exports increased sharply to 803.8 billion naira in the second quarter of 2025 from 294.4 billion naira in the first quarter. National Industrial Corps in Abuja has stopped the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria from carrying out its nationwide strike aimed at shutting down the Dangote Petroleum Refinery. In his ruling, Justice Emmanuel Sublim granted an interim order restraining Pengassan and its allies from cutting crude and gas supply to the facility. He warned that the planned strike could deal a heavy blow to Nigeria's fragile economy. The order also tied the hands of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority and the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission from carrying out any directive by Pengassan to choke supply lines to the refinery. The case has been adjourned till October 13 till November 13 for hearing. Meanwhile, Dangote Petroleum Refinery has assured Nigerians of uninterrupted supply of petroleum products, including petrol, diesel, aviation fuel, kerosene and cooking gas despite threats by Pengassan. The assurance comes amid reports of a planned attack on the refinery, allegedly involving Pengassan members and higher thugs. According to intelligence sources, the plot seeks to disrupt critical units of the facility, particularly those responsible for petrol production. You're still watching the news on Atlantic Television Network. Up next is International Tidbits. Africa Center for Disease Control and Prevention has called for stronger community-based surveillance, improved vaccination coverage, and sustained cross-border collaboration to curb the spread of ongoing disease outbreaks across the continent. Incident Manager for Health Emergencies at the Africa CDC, Professor Yap Bohm, made the call on Friday during the agency's weekly news conference, which reviewed the epidemiological situation of Mpox, cholera, Ebola, Rift Valley fever, malaria, and other priority diseases across Africa. Bohm said that while significant progress had been made with the Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo nearing its 42-day countdown to the end, continued vigilance was essential. He noted that more than 37,000 people had been vaccinated against Ebola, including healthcare workers and children. Africa CDC and its partners, he said, were also supporting preventive vaccination in other provinces and neighboring countries to boost preparedness. On imports, BOM said the continent had recorded an 80% decline from its peak, with 13 countries rolling out vaccination campaigns that have reached over 1.5 million people. However, he expressed concern over rising cases in Kenya, Liberia, and Ghana, where active transmission projects persist. BOM also highlighted ongoing efforts to strengthen malaria prevention, including the distribution of bed nets and environmental sanitation, particularly in Southern Africa, where seasonal increases have been recorded, he added. Speaking on behalf of Africa's CDC's of Surveillance and Disease Intelligence Unit, Dr. Kieng Mercy said the agency had launched a continental data architecture and health information exchange policy to ensure privacy, data protection, and harmonized reporting across member states. As the Economic Community of West African States marks its 50th anniversary, regional leaders and policymakers have called for unity, institutional reform, and renewed commitments to the bloc's founding ideals amid political and security challenges confronting the sub-region. Speaking as future-proofing regional integration in Africa, the African Public Square debate in Abuja on Friday, the ECOWAS Commissioner for Political Affairs, Peace and Security, Ambassador Abdel Fattah Musa, said the anniversary presented a moment for deep reflection, partnership, and renewal. Representing the ECOWAS Commission President Dr. Omar Toure, the Commissioner recommended the collaboration between the Africa Leadership Center, the Amandla Institute, and the Mandela Institute for Policy and Leadership Advancement, describing the event as a very important public square that promises to help shape ECOWAS' future course. Reflecting on ECOWAS' journey since its founding in 1975 by Generals Yakubu Gowon of Nigeria and Asingbe Eyademe of Togo, Musa said the bloc's early success lay in uniting diverse colonial and linguistic legacies, Francophone, Anglophone, Lusophone, into a single regional organization. Musa cautioned against what he described as a hollowing out of competitiveness in electoral politics where governments suppress opposition through exclusionary taxes. He added that insecurity across the Sahel had worsened, intensifying pressure on the bloc to adapt. Israel has returned the bodies of 30 more Palestinians to Gaza as part of an ongoing action deal under a U.S. brokered ceasefire plan, a hospital told newsmen on Friday. The Nasser Medical Complex in Khan Yunis said the bodies of 30 Palestinian prisoners were received from the Israeli side as part of the action deal. Under the truce, Israel is to return the remains of 15 Palestinians for every deceased Israeli hostage returned by Hamas. Friday's transfer brings the number returned to Gaza to 225. The bodies were brought to Nasser by the Red Cross after being handed over by Israel as has been the case in previous exchanges. The hospital said, under the October 10 ceasefire plan, Hamas has already returned 20 surviving hostages taken 2 years ago during its October 7, 2023 assault on Israel. It has also begun sending back the bodies of 28 deceased hostages known to be missing, but the process has been slow and Israeli anger is mounting. Hamas has sent back 15 bodies identified as Israeli hostages and those of 2 foreign workers, 1 Thai and 1 Nepalese, also taken in October 7 attack. It has also returned the partial remains of a deceased Israeli hostage who had already been recovered, as well as an unidentified body that had not been listed among the 28 missing. King Charles III is stripping his younger brother Andrew of his royal titles and ousting him from his long-term residence on the Windsor estate. The palace said on Thursday the latest fallout to hit the scandal-plagued royal over the Jeffrey Epstein affair. Andrew has also been told to move out of his long-time home in Windsor Castle's sprawling grounds, and he will move to alternative private accommodation as soon as possible. The announcement followed the torrent of outrage at renewed accusations of sexual assault made by one Jeffrey Epstein's main accusers against the 65-year-old, who has denied the charges. It comes days after the posthumous publication of Virginia's Giuffre's memoir, in which the victim of U.S. sex offender Epstein retreated in shocking detail allegations that she was trafficked to have sex with Andrew 3 times, including twice when she was only 17. It is understood that Andrew did not object to the King's decision and that the UK government has been consulted. Giuffre took her own life in April, aged 41, while Epstein died by suicide in 2019 in prison awaiting trial on sex trafficking charges. Giuffre's family, which had pushed for Andrew's title of prince to be removed, hailed the move. Andrew, who is the second son of the late Queen Elizabeth II, has repeatedly denied the allegations, but he had agreed to pay US and Australian citizen Giuffre millions of dollars in 2022 to end a civil sexual assault case against him. Here now is ATN Sports News. Barcelona are reportedly eyeing a transfer move for Galatasaray's Victor Osimhen and Manchester City's Erling Haaland. This was disclosed by Now Sport commentator Ebato Egenekon while speaking on Osimhen and Barcelona's transfer agenda. Barcelona are exploring an alternative to replace veteran striker Robert Lewandowski, whose contract extends until 2026. However, according to Egenekon, the likes of Osimhen and Haaland are being mentioned as potential targets for the number 9 position at Barcelona next year. Chelsea boss Enzo Maresca said Liam Delap has apologized for getting sent off in Wednesday's League Cup win at Wolves, which drew stinging criticism from his manager. Chelsea held on to progress in a 4-3 thriller at Molyneux, but Delap is now suspended for Saturday's trip to Tottenham in the Premier League. Maresca said after the Wolves match that the 22-year-old plays for himself, but clarified those comments as a mistranslation and backed Delap, who has scored just once since the £30 million, $40 million move from Ipswich in June to prove his worth. Needless red cards have been a persistent feature in Chelsea's season so far. Maresca's men have been reduced to 10 men in 5 of their last 9 games. And the Italian was also dismissed from the touchline for his celebrations of a late winner against Liverpool earlier this month. A 2-1 home defeat to Sunderland was last week, dropped the Blues to 9th in the Premier League table, but they are just 3 points behind 3rd place Tottenham ahead of their trip to North London. New Juventus manager Luciano Spalletti said on Friday that his 7th place team is capable of challenging for the Serie A title. Spalletti, who succeeds the sacked Igor Tudor, discussed with the players on Thursday, noting that they must aim for the highest. Juventus have given Spalletti until the end of the season in the hope that the 66-year-old can secure qualification for next season's Champions League. His contract runs until June 30. Should he achieve this, that Spalletti would be given more time to help put Juve back at the top in Italy after being overtaken by Inter, Milan and Napoli in recent seasons. Spalletti was the man behind Napoli's historic Serie A title in 2023 and has been one of the country's most influential coaches over the past 2 decades, also performing above expectations at Roma and Inter Milan. 5 months after his dismissal as Italy coach, Spalletti is relishing being back in the Serie A limelight. He had canned words for the man he plays, Tudor, who was sacked on Monday. And now entertainment news. Grammy-winning singer Damini Ogbolu, popularly known as Burna Boy, has claimed that the Afrobeat pioneer Fela Kuti is the only African artist greater than him. He made the claim during a recent interview. The last crooner's bold claim elicited mixed reactions, with many saying it was overreaching. While Burna Boy is currently one of the biggest artists in Africa, the hierarchy of the greatest African artists in history remains a debate. Nigerian musician Adekunle Gold opens up about his ongoing battle with sickle cell crisis, emphasizing the importance of genotype testing to prevent the disease. He shares his lifelong struggle, having been on medication since age 5, and urges awareness to reduce the prevalence of the condition. While lamenting the pain caused by the disease, Adekunle Gold disclosed that he had been on lifelong medication since he was 5 years old. US hip-hop star Sean Diddy Combs has been transferred to a prison in New Jersey to serve his jail term of 4 years and 2 months for prostitution-related crimes, a federal registrar showed Friday. Combs is being held in the low-security Fort Dix prison, some 130 kilometers 80 miles south of New York, a facility also known for its drug treatment programs. His lawyers had requested that Combs be moved to Judea House, where he is set to stay until May 8, 2028, according to the Federal Bureau of Prisons. Arrested in September 2024, the music mogul was convicted this July of 2 counts of transporting people across state lines for prostitution, but the jury acquitted him of the most serious charges: sex trafficking and racketeering. Tearfully addressing the court before the judges handed down the sentence, which reflects the time he had already served in the notorious Brooklyn lockup, Combs said he was truly sorry for his actions. He apologized to his family as well as his victims, saying his behavior was disgusting, shameful and sick. Combs has appealed both his conviction and sentence. And that's the global news for tonight. Before we go, another look at the major stories. NDLEA raises alarm over rising drug abuse among Nepal students. Court stops 2025 PDP's National Convention. Nigerian Air Force reshuffles senior officers to boost efficiency. NIPOS unveils payment solution for foreign parcels. West African leaders call for unity reform at ECOWAS 50, and Barcelona eye Osimhen Haaland and stops striker targets. Burna Boy names Fela Kuti as superior artist. I am Favor Chikwestre Michael. Thank you for watching. You can follow us on social media platforms on Twitter at Atlantic TV Net, on Facebook and YouTube at Atlantic Television Network, and on Instagram at Atlantic TV Network. And don't forget, peace and unity are the pathways to progress. To have a wonderful night rest.